Today, my department is issuing a report summarizing our findings in our investigation into Michigan State University and their handling of the sexual assaults of hundreds of young women at the hands of Larry Nassar. Investigating how this abuse was able to be perpetuated for so long, who knew, what they knew, and when they knew it, has been a top priority for this department through 2 consecutive administrations now. The department issued its first charges in 2016 against the abuser, and in 2018 opened a formal investigation into the conduct of MSU at the request of and with a pledge of full support from the Board of Trustees. When I took office in 2019, I pledged that we would continue the investigation, be transparent about our findings, and be aggressive in this endeavor. At that point, the MSU board had released over 100,000 documents, but withheld approximately 6,000 of them under the claim of attorney-client privilege. I renewed my predecessor's request for the entirety of their documents again in January 2019, and multiple times, both formally and through the press, before being forced to close the investigation in 2021 due to the lack of cooperation from the MSU Board of Trustees. In 2023, upon the election of many new members to the board, and with information that this new board would vote in favor of releasing the documents, I renewed that request. Several days later, the board once again declined to share the withheld documents. But later that year, in December, the board finally voted to release the documents, and in March of this year, we began to receive the first batch of them. We do believe that we are now in possession of all the existing documents MSU has on this matter. Unfortunately, from the remaining documents, we have learned that not all of the communications were preserved, and that the university wrongly applied attorney-client privilege to many, if not most, of the remaining documents. Sorry, guys, I'm going to pause again because of the talking. Thank you. MSU has repeatedly justified withholding the documents because they contained information that was allegedly protected by the attorney-client privilege. Our review has revealed that this justification was not always appropriate. A significant number, if not a majority, of the documents did not appear to us to be covered by that privilege at all. Accordingly, there was no justification, no justifiable reason to withhold those documents for any period of time, let alone an extended period. Further, the documents that contained, or at least arguably contained, privileged information did not offer any new insight into MSU's handling of the abuse or who knew what about it and when. Indeed, most of the privileged information was not even related to those issues, but instead really to tangential issues such as public relations, insurance, and funding. Because our review revealed no new relevant information, we are closing this investigation. And while this closure is in keeping with the parameters of our investigatory duties, we recognize that it does not provide the type of closure sought by the survivors of Nassar's abuse.
Over the top of this graphic, I don't know if we should just post this and just leave it alone.
Just asking that the news outlets that are on right now, I understand that this is a different format than we usually use for technological reasons, but I think it's discourteous to people who are trying to pay attention to this. So I ask, please, that if you are a news outlet and you're on, that you mute this. And to my staff, I ask that maybe you remove those folks if they are going to continue to talk.
Unfortunately, it's showing everyone is muted, so I can't see who the discourteous outlet currently is. But again, if you are recording this for yourself and for others, and you are allowing your background noise to be heard, you are ruining the recording for everyone.
All right, I'll continue. Sadly, there simply is no fulfilling the answer to the question of how Nassar was able to perpetuate his abuse on so many for so long without MSU or anyone else putting a stop to it. To say that I am disappointed in this outcome is really an understatement. While we begin each investigation in pursuit of the truth and facts first and foremost, and take criminal or civil charges as a secondary consideration, it is my belief that by withholding the remaining 6,000 documents, MSU unnecessarily prolonged that hope that the questions survivors had would be answered and denied them closure that they were entitled to many years ago. I'd now like to address the many, many survivors of this abuse. I commend you all for your bravery in coming forward and sharing your stories and for never giving up in the pursuit of justice and transparency. And while the investigation is closed, this is not where this story ends. Now, were related to this abuse. So culturally, you have certainly had a profound impact. And because of your work, we now recognize those who have been subjected to abuse as survivors are known as survivors, not as victims. You've changed how survivors are treated when they come forward, and you've changed our culture to one that leads with believing survivors. And you've allowed prosecutors across the nation to reform court testimony and allow non-charged victims to testify during sentencing proceedings.
For me, church, we would just like hang out in the kids'
I'm sorry, guys. I'm really trying to get through this. I wonder if there's a way just to sort of remove everybody so I can complete this. And then maybe people can email in or something. I'd really like to get this messaging across. It's just so distracting with everybody talking on here.
Being on TV.
It looks like it's NBC Universal. Maggie Vespa, I am removing you.
No, I was
From the
just
meeting.
unmuting to ask if it's possibly on your end because everyone else has been muted this whole time. That was an intentional unmute just to offer that possibility.
No, it is not. AG was the only one unmuted. And it is clearly, very clearly the sound of a newsroom. I'm going to mute everyone again, see if it goes away.
It was weird. Well, I'm not done letting talk.
Okay, go get lunch. Hey.
Who is
All right,
that person?
I'm going to go ahead and complete this. I'm sorry this has been such a distraction because obviously this is pretty important material that we're discussing. But I want to say in addition, nationally, the United States Association of Gymnastics has created Safe Sport to protect athletes from all forms of harassment and abuse, and campuses are reviewing their policies and procedures to better prevent, identify, and prosecute abuse, as well as bolster campus safety and crime data reporting. So it was your tireless work and advocacy that accomplished this, and your strength has left this world a better place for preventing sexual assaults and protecting future survivors. And while this might not be the justice that you sought, I do believe the changes in how we now treat sexual abuse on campuses and in courtrooms alike is a form of justice that will have a profound impact for generations to come. So with that,